how has this affected your personal life, relationships, family, friends, things like that? How has it altered, augmented? What has it done and shifted in that area?
In the mindset, man, the principle that's shifted, and I can see it immediately is, you know how, James, most people think life is short.
Yeah,
So that's because they don't have a reminder that's constant enough that it's actually urgent.
yeah. So every move you make, right? Every day, every hour is
Every interview, every
yeah,
person I choose, it's all urgent. And so, I've realized that most people, they're not in that place right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the truth. They're not living and having to make decisions urgently the way I am. So my intensity for some people is too intense, and I've accepted that and realized that there's nothing wrong with that, because if they were in my shoes, they would have that too.
And now, here is singer songwriter, broadcaster, audio video artist, entertainment agent, and your host. It's the master storyteller himself, James Kevin O'Connor.
Hey, 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 it's a beautiful day. Another fine day and another fine episode on podcasting your global career. Do me a favor and send this show to someone who may need it, because when you hear the story I'm going to present today, you're not going to believe this. This man has suffered 12 cardiac arrests in the space of about 2 years, 2.5 years, and he's the real Tony Stark. He's an unbelievable man who is an award-winning copywriter. He's documenting his comeback after 12 cardiac arrests and doing it in real time. And at the same time, he's helping entrepreneurs and other people in business. He's from the greater Seattle area, and his name is Kevin Marcus Miller. So let's take a ride today. What do you say? Strap up your seatbelts and let's go out to the great Northwest and hang out with Kevin and find out, how does he do this?
why don't we start with your story and tell everybody? And we have Kevin Miller with us today on Podcasting Your Global Career. And Kevin, why don't you start with telling us your story and a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Hey, thanks, James, for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to meet a fellow podcaster.
Here, here.
Of course. My story is, the way I like to describe it is, it's, you know how, like, when you interview a lot of people, you hear some of the common themes and some stories that are similar in the business space, entrepreneurs. And I found out the hard way that sometimes your story is unique, actually, and in a kind of I like to call it like a beautiful pain kind of way. So I kind of look at my life story as one of those stories you would read in a book and you kind of wouldn't believe it would happen to you. I'm a 12-time sudden cardiac arrest survivor. For people that don't know what that means that any illness that you've learned about or had a family member, whether that's cancer, heart attack, stroke, those all lead to cardiac arrest. Once you have a cardiac arrest, your heart completely stops, your body is not working, and you are, in order to continue to live, you have to be resuscitated. So I've been resuscitated 12 times.
Wow.
When I say that, it really just doesn't feel like that happened to me. It just kind of, the gravity of it's very heavy. So I'll do my best to kind of explain the story, but trigger warning for some people listening. It is kind of one of those. My first cardiac arrest was in 2019. I was actually playing basketball, working a corporate job, thinking, doing all the things, 25, wanting to grow up the corporate ladder in marketing. I was actually at Microsoft at the time. And I decided, hey, I'm stressed out. So I need to go play some basketball. So I'm playing, coming up the court, not even 3 minutes in the game, James. And I don't remember any of this because it was actually told to me, the story, but I passed out. I was in a induced coma for about 3 days. And basically this was my new normal. This is gonna be how, you know, my regular life was gonna be, was that I was not gonna have a working heart. And that was very frustrating.
Good
It's very
Lord.
frustrating.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. I mean, you know, my first thought was don't have one here because I can't get to you, man. I'm over here. I can't help you, you know? I mean,
Yeah. So the beautiful thing is
to help you, but
I have this device now in my body. It's called a subcutaneous defibrillator. So it's an advanced technology, pretty new. It's like last 30 years. And so it's able to keep survivors like me alive. Some of the survivors I know have lasted 30 years, 40 years.
wow. So now
It's incredible.
how does that activate, Kevin? Is
Mhm.
it totally by itself? It recognizes that
That's
your heart's,
correct.
oh,
That's
okay. So your
correct.
heart's stopping
Yeah.
it. So
So
it shocks you.
there's a lead. Yep. There's a lead on your heart here. And then there's a full, you know, on the left side of my body here. It's a huge, you know, probably the size of this cup.
Wow.
And it'll detect what's going on with your heart if you're in a dangerous rhythm. And it will give you basically the equivalent of an AED machine shock.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. How many, so since
Yeah.
you had this like very recently, so
Yeah.
how many times has this happened to you? You said it's 12
Mhm.
times.
Yeah.
So is that how many times in a year has
Mm.
this like happened to you?
So 2019 was the very first time.
Okay.
And I was playing basketball, and then they put the device in, right?
Right.
Then I had another one about 11 months later. And that was like my first real shock. Doctors told me to go play basketball again, and I was playing ball. And then that happened. And then I had probably 3 or 4 more incidences like it. And the most recent one, right now we're recording, it's 2023. The most recent one was about 5 weeks ago.
Wow. So
Mhm.
so there's no warning, there's no way to tell if it's coming on, it just comes like whenever.
That's correct. It just
And
comes whenever.
and they were able to diagnose this and recognize that this is an illness that other people have had, and it's something like well known.
That's correct. And
The
and the
historical.
problem though is they don't have a cure. Some of the other ones there is, you know, more they can do, but for this type of ventricular tachycardia, there's not a, hey, you're just going to take this medicine, it's not going to happen. I've already gone through several emergency surgeries, and they actually were unsuccessful. And so where I'm at right now, just full transparency, is I would say if you were going to ask anybody who's mastered the art of the comeback, who could you really learn from that skill in real time, not from a perspective of it used to happen to me, but this is my real life, and it will be for, you know, the foreseeable future. That's where I feel like I shine and I give value to people, is just by me choosing not to quit.
Yeah.
That's enough to inspire people at a really deep level. I've noticed.
Can you say the name of the condition again?
Ventricular tachycardia, VTAC. So
The-
it's when your heart basically has an irregular heart pattern, but a very particular type that's very difficult to treat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me about the aftershock when you realized that you had this.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? Must have been like crazy, man. I went out to play basketball and look at this.
Man, I think we have these words for things we describe, like anger. There's not even a word in the dictionary. It's beyond that. It's like if there's a level of depression like beyond depressed, that's where I was at. So
Yeah, because it's so invasive, you know.
so invasive.
It's your heart. It's like
You can't even like, James, you can't even like explain it to people without them feeling sorry for you, but also you feeling almost pity for yourself to a level where even if you keep going, you start to have these really deep, dark dialogues in your head that you have to fight every day.
yeah.
Right. And that's where it gets interesting. And, I wasn't able to actually go back to my corporate job because of this condition. And I was actually too ashamed to tell my employer at the time because I didn't want them to think I couldn't do the job. So I just went back and didn't tell them. And then I eventually I couldn't handle it anymore, too much PTSD. So I couldn't go back in, and I just grew my own business because out of necessity, not out of choice.
So before we get to your business, tell me about the PTSD and how you have coped with this condition. And it's not just the physical. I mean, the emotional of this has got to be like off the charts.
Absolutely. So I found great solace in, actually TikTok. Surprisingly, there's people on there that have these accounts who have conditions worse than me. And when I see those videos, I'm actually uplifted because my wife always says this saying to me. She says, "You're my lieutenant and we love our life."
Wow.
And that saying just hits because I can still see that my life is better than somebody whose life, they're bedridden 100%. They can't, their PTSD episodes, there's variants of PTSD, right? And mine's pretty high, but I've seen people where their PTSD is so high, they'll be frozen for 10 hours.
Wow.
So mine is kind of like, I might freeze for an hour and not talk to anybody, because I'm frozen. But
yeah. When you say you're frozen, is it something you can pull yourself out of, or do you just have to wait for?
Gotta wait it out. Or medicine. Medicine.
Okay.
And the medicine is very good. Very, if anybody's listening and they're going through this, military, especially my veterans, don't be ashamed, man. When people build, like James, when people build homes, they use tools.
Yeah.
Right. This is one of those battles that you can't win without tools.
Yeah. When you say you're veterans, were you in the service?
I wasn't. My grandfather was, but I relate. Okay. Yeah, I relate quite a bit to those folks, and they give me inspiration because we share that PTSD. We share that warrior spirit of not giving up. And so anybody listening that is a veteran, I truly understand what you're going through in terms of the PTSD, and I respect it,
Yeah. Yeah. To your point about, finding people, that have it worse than you in some case,
right.
And I remember this story. This woman put this up on Facebook, this little video, and she had her child, and the child had no arms and no legs. Wow. And she's bringing him to the slide, and he climbs up the ladder and throws himself down the slide. And the two of them are laughing. And I'm like, this is such a lesson in, you feel like you never have permission to even be in a bad mood again, ever, because of the inspiration. This little kid was like full of joy, and his mother taught him that, so I know what you're saying when you go and you have to look for something to help you, to lift you up, to say, I want to feel whole again, man. I want to feel like, who I really am and make my contribution. Right. Let's talk about how this changed life for you, Kevin, as far as business and being a podcaster.
Right. In high school and college, I actually was a television anchor for the school.
Yeah, you got a great voice, man. Great personality.
Thank you.
Camera. Yeah, you got it going on, man.
Thanks, champ. I appreciate that. So I realized, like, okay, all this marketing kind of stuff, if you change out the word marketing for influencing, it all makes sense.
Yes.
Oh, what we're doing is we're influencing people, whether that's a product, cup, whatever it is, your personal brand, we're influencing people. And having a podcast and also I have a LinkedIn marketing firm. It's a great way for me to operate with the PTSD at a very high level.
Right.
Because what I'm doing is I'm influencing people in a positive light to put their best foot forward online.
Right. So you get a great sense of gratitude from that, I bet. And that's what fuels you.
Exactly. And without that, then there isn't enough, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. If I was an accountant, it's just not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. You need that spiritual juice.
Yes.
Because you feel like you made a difference in somebody's life at the end of the day. And that is everything.
Man, crazy story, man. My first speaking engagement was to this day most fulfilling anything business I've ever done. It was paid speaking engagement and 5,000 high school kids, man. And it was here in Washington State on Zoom. And if you saw the things that I saw on that Zoom chat and that YouTube chat, people, man, kids so depressed they want to take their life, all kinds of stuff. And people, yeah, man, this what you're saying, I feel you, man. Man, can I talk to you, man? I'm having a hard, right?
Yeah.
That juice right there, man, it's so encouraging because people think, oh, I'm doing them a favor. No, they're doing me a favor.
Yeah.
Those kids are doing me a favor, helping me get through another day.
Yeah. It's amazing when you have that fuel, you know. I put out a book about 2 years ago, 7 Steps to Mental Freedom. It was written really fast so that kids who were suffering from depression could get something. So I went on to Facebook to market it. And I went to some of these depression groups, and man, I got a face full of, I can't believe the suffering that is going on. People wanting to end their lives and suicide.
Right.
Just, it was endless, and it inspired me to be a coach.
That's awesome.
Because that's what it took. I said, I'm not here to market my book. I can't do that. I got to get out there and help somebody in a much bigger way than I've been doing, you know? So you never know
great.
where God's going to lead you and say, I got plans for you to do something else than you even thought was possible. So how has this affected your personal life, relationships, family, friends, things like that? How has it altered, augmented? What has it done and shifted in that area?
In the mindset, man, the principle that's shifted, and I can see it immediately, is, you know how, James, most people think life is short?
Yeah.
So that's because they don't have a reminder that's constant enough that it's actually urgent.
Yeah. So every move you make, right? Every day, every hour,
every interview, every person I choose, it's all urgent. And so, you know, I've realized that most people, they're not in that place right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the truth. They're not living and having to make decisions urgently the way I am. So my intensity for some people is too intense, and I've accepted that and realized that there's nothing wrong with that, because if they were in my shoes, they would have that too.
Yeah. And you're a podcaster now too.
Yep. And so that's helped with, you know, marketing and getting my brand out there. And also mainly though, honestly, man, just it's given me a sense of fulfillment to the community. So I feel like some, you know, people can go to me for connection, or, hey, can you introduce me to this person that was on your podcast? It gives me a great sense of fulfillment and pride and belonging that I need.
Yeah. So, what's the name of your podcast?
My podcast is Agency Talk Podcast, and we're also going to start Setbacks to Comebacks podcast. So we're going to take snippets about people's setbacks, the comeback stories, and do an audio version just so folks can get that nugget piece. And then typically I interview marketing professionals on the Agency Talk. So that's why I want to have them both. So then there's people who just want the personal development side, and then some people that want the personal development and the marketing.
So was the podcast journey a surprise to you?
I wouldn't say it was a surprise. I would say it, because of the PTSD, it was harder than it was difficult. And I started one in the beginning and it didn't go so well, and because I was in and out of the hospital too much. Right. And so I was discouraged and didn't want to do it again. And then I realized that my personal brand is, you know, I have a Facebook group with 50,000 people in it now. Wow. And at that point, you kind of can't not do one. Yeah. Honestly, because it's too big. Like, that's too many people not to be hearing from you, you know? Right. So a friend of mine gave me that encouragement I needed to just say, you know, drop every 2 weeks. Keep your schedule as you can, and people are going to rock with it, and they're going to realize how much you're sacrificing to do it. And if it doesn't work out or you can't continue it, don't beat yourself up about it, man.
Yeah. And I think the relationships are really to be treasured in most cases.
Yeah.
When you get to spend an hour of quality time with somebody, it's almost like a friendship develops, and it's just a really, there's some glue there.
Yeah.
It sticks. So that's the one thing I love about it, and it must be good because you're starting another one.
Yeah, it's working right now. It's working. It's a great marketing machine, and it's also a great. People are actually learning, and people are hitting me up every week. Hey, man, I tried this thing that you were talking about, and when you interviewed so and so, it was great. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, the beauty of it too is if you're not like beholding to somebody, like you signed a contract as a performer somewhere, and you say, well, something came up, life comes along, and you want to take a month off. The podcast is still going to be there. The show's going to be there. Your audience will pick right up again, or they'll go and binge on older episodes that they didn't get a chance to listen to. So I think it has a lot of different values. So now basketball, is it out completely for you, or can you still play?
Yeah. So I don't exercise at all, actually. So that's one of the sacrifices that was really difficult. I used to actually be an athlete. So my mom was a collegiate gymnast, and my father played college football. So
man,
very much a sports family, and it was hard.
Yeah,
man, it was hard. It was like, okay, well, might one day coach, or things like that. But yeah, I haven't played basketball since my last cardiac arrest, and my goal, man, honestly, is I want to be able to play one-on-one with my future son when I have a kid.
Right.
That's going to be enough for me.
What do you think about, have you talked to, I'm sure you've contemplated this, about the advance of medicine is moving so quickly that there's got to be hope for something with you.
Yes.
Something out there. I just know something's going to happen. I mean, AI is going to figure something out, or they're going to get some research.
Right.
Have you been in touch with people that know?
I have.
And so how are they feeling about it?
Yeah, they're thinking the window is probably a 10 to 20 year window for the advancement to be strong enough. Heart transplants off the table as of now. And that's very risky for someone as young as me.
Yeah.
I think what will happen is, man, I'll probably have to turn into Iron Man.
All right, look out, Tony.
Iron Kev, Tony Stark, right?
Tony Stark's gonna be jealous, man. I'm calling this thing in 3 years. I'm not going for the 5 to 10 year thing. It's gonna be less than 3 years.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'll be praying for you, brother, because
thank you.
The power is in the prayer, and I'm telling you, you're something special. So tell me, what do you do, Kevin, for enjoyment time? And I know it's a crazy question but you got to have something you can go to. What's going to the well for you that gives you some joy?
Yeah. So for me, man, I actually just got married about 2 weeks ago. So
congratulations. That's awesome. What's her name?
Bernice. So I made it across that aisle, man. I was crying like a
wow.
It was beautiful, man. Because a couple of weeks prior to that, I was in the hospital, so we weren't sure if we were gonna have to cancel the wedding. So it was such a great, man. It was such a great win.
That's amazing, man. Well, you both probably, but she got herself one good man. I'm telling you, that's awesome. Thank you. So did you get a chance to honeymoon yet, or?
Mini honeymoon. We went on a mini one. Yeah. And then we'll definitely, when the doctors clear us to travel, we'll hit a extended one in Mexico.
Oh, nice. Mexico's really great. Have you been there? Mexico?
Yeah.
It's fun, isn't it? Yeah.
It's great.
They treat you so good. I mean, I've been 3 or 4 times. I always had a blast, always had a good time. I don't believe all these movies with you see it. Don't believe it,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%, man. So, I'll, spend time with the wife, and one of the, we used to do bike riding when I could. We haven't done that in a while, but we'll be, I'll be hoping to be able to do that again. And then songwriting, that's my big therapy and passion. I've been doing songwriting for about 15 years.
Oh, wow. We didn't even get a chance to get into that. But as we're winding down, best place Kevin, for people to reach out to you? And we will put all of your links in the show notes, but what's your favorite for people to reach you?
Sure thing. I think LinkedIn is probably the best way, because you can kind of anybody can connect there, depending on, whether you're a social media person or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, my name's Kevin Marcus Miller. You can just Google me and all my links will pop right up.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. In parting, what would you say to those out there struggling with either emotional issues, physical issues, things that are so beyond their control?
Yeah.
And you can speak to this probably better than most people. What kind of hope can you give them? What would you say to them to get them to hang on and to try to focus towards the positive in their future?
Great question, man. I would say put hope back on your playlist. Sometimes we take it off our playlist because circumstances, and that's okay. If you can remind yourself every hour to put it back on the playlist, remember, playlists repeat themselves. So you're going to have people in your playlist to help you. So your wife, your family, they're going to have to remind you, because sometimes you're not going to have enough strength to put it back on the playlist, but put it back on the playlist, keep it in your rotation. Your greatest setback that you're having right now is going to be the fuel that you need for your greatest comeback. So awesome. Keep going. You got this.
Yeah, that is awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for being a part of Podcasting Your Global Career. Really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. And I just want to wish all of God's blessings on you, Bernice, and your bike riding, your trip to Mexico, your career moving forward, and everything good for you, brother. I will be praying for you.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
Hey, if you guys like what's going on here, please leave a great review in the Apple Podcasts. I've left a simple review process in the show notes, and we'd really appreciate it. And also, don't be shy. Forward this to your best friend, because you know they need it. Hey, if you need some coaching, hit up the link in the show notes. It's calendly.com/Dharmic. And you can take a little chance with me, and I'll get you on your way. That's a wrap for me today. I'm your host, James Kevin O'Connor. So until the next time when we meet again, I'll either see you on the socials or I'll see you from the stage. Ride on, baby, won't you take a ride with me? Ride on, we can untangle all the mystery. If wishes were windows, I'd open one and find that freedom is really a simple state of mind. So ride on, baby, won't you take a ride with me? Ride on, we can untangle all the mystery. Ride on, baby, you and I can find the key. Ride on, we can unlock each other's destiny. I taste the breeze of freedom, it's tingling on my tongue. You and I out on the road will stay other's destiny. I'll take you places that you've never seen. I'll take you places that you never dreamed. I'll take you places that were pictures in your mind. I'll take you places